Hi everyone, my name is Jim Jakiko, and in this presentation, we'll take a look at Efren's review of Nike's CSR communication program and apply the evaluation framework that I have created to critique the footwear giant's messaging. Nike has always been known for advocating action, and this brand has seen no better embodiment than the 2018 campaign with the NFL quarterback, where the company took a stance on the controversial Take a Knee movement that shines the light on long-standing racial inequality in America. This specific campaign exemplifies the social activism model of CSR, which asserts that corporations have a responsibility to society beyond stimulating economic activity, and their role, as well as that of their executives, extends into shaping cultural perspectives on morality. The fact that this happened during the most polarized time in recent political history, where the pushback against racial equality movements under the guise of fighting white genocide was at its peak, reflects a level of calculated boldness on the part of Nike, who no doubt would have predicted the backlash along with potential damages to its product sales and long-term brand viability. We have to recognize that the negative sentiment surrounding this campaign, clearly overshadowed by the positives, as evidenced by the increase in brand value, is predicated on cultural misalignment rather than any perception issues with CSR messaging authenticity or corporate legitimacy. The campaign energized not just customers, but the broader consuming public to think and engage in difficult conversations during a time when white nationalism has gained legitimacy through the presidency of Donald Trump. Based on Efren's review of Nike's CSR communication, here are some highlights pertinent to my evaluation framework. First is high budget allocation. The use of an F&L star and high-profile advertising avenues to air flagship television ads point to a perceivably high budget. There's high channel diversity and appropriateness as well. Nike engaged advertising, social media, PR, and community outreach to communicate their CSR program, revealing channel diversity and possibly channel appropriateness as well. And then there's high online sales increases. This behavioral outcome points to a high level of authenticity perception among various stakeholder segments. And finally, there's high brand value increases as well. This is a quantified increase in brand image, which is an outcome of high authenticity sentiment. This is also supported by increased engagement on social media. My evaluation framework uses a scoring system, factoring in a variety of metrics relevant to Nike's CSR communication. It captures an aggregate view of performance across identified metrics. It examines the inputs as well as the outcomes of communication programs. For inputs, we'll take a look at the budget, the frequency and volume of messages, and channel diversity and appropriateness as well. For outcomes, we will assume that Nike is largely interested in encouraging certain consumer perceptions and behaviors around its brand through CSR initiatives. Reputational outcomes will consider consumer, NGO, and government and press sentiment, while behavioral outcomes will study consumer participation and sales figures as a function of CSR communication. For budget, we will assume, based on favorable coverage of the CSR initiatives and public reception, that while it is obviously high, with some estimates at $4 million just in TV ad spots, Nike's spend on this CSR campaign is optimal and well aligned. The brand came out swinging at well-calculated times to achieve maximum engagement, not just to its social media posts and other messages, but in third-party digital conversations as well. For channel appropriateness, we will assume a moderate alignment, accounting for the backlash it received without discounting the largely favorable reception of its CSR message. And for diversity, given that it is a consumer product brand, it is only understandable that it used as many channels as possible to get this message out. We will rate channel diversity at high number of channels with potentially diluted effectiveness for 5 points. That brings the total input score at 40 out of a maximum 50 points. For outcomes, this is where it gets interesting. Surveys showed that 76% of young voters supported the campaign, while consumers irrevocably loved the campaign, save for a few highly politicized groups, typically right-leaning and over 35. Media coverage was neutral, but not for the reasons you might expect. Coverage focused on questions regarding the commoditization of politics, where some try to gatekeep where conversations on key issues like equality can be had and who are in a position to start them in the first place, completely missing the idea that broadening the conversation will always be better than gatekeeping it. For that, we'll do neutral for that mixed reception from the press. NGOs and government entities will have the same rating equivalent to 6 points. This is to account for the inevitability that NGOs perceive all corporate actions as questionable, regardless of intent. Organizations like the ACLU and the NAACP praised this campaign for their decision to leverage Kaepernick's activism against systemic racism, but others called this woke-washing while diverting attention from discussions on workers' rights and working conditions at Nike factories. Sales are up 31% according to Efron's report, which nets a 10 in the sales analytics category under behavioral outcomes. And while there was no tangible call to action proposed by Nike in this campaign, we can attribute digital conversations as consumer participation in the campaign. The announcement dominated the social news cycle, from the signing of Kaepernick, which generated 1.7 million social media posts, to a peak of 4 million posts a day. Nike was also mentioned in more than 1 million posts as the story went viral. From these sheer numbers alone, we can count a sizable portion of it to be an engaged group of consumers participating in the conversation that Nike wanted to spark, a debate on racial justice and American culture's tolerance for it. Overall, that puts the outcome section at 42 out of a maximum 50 points. For the recap, we have a total of 82 out of 100 points, making Nike's Kaepernick campaign a highly effective one, communication-wise. Again, I should reiterate that this scoring system for CSR communication evaluation will be most accurate if used internally by the company, as they will have direct data and the resources to collect additional audience perception data, such as and including spending perceptions, channel appropriateness, and consumer sentiments regarding CSR authenticity. There's my critique of Nike's CSR communication program. Thanks again for watching. I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the discussion forum.